Devy Planet, welcome into another episode. I am SC Romero at the Devy Planet with my co-host Spencer at Buckwald Sports, and we are here to talk to you about some players that, when it comes to draft time, you may be overthinking. And we're here to tell you, don't overthink it. These are some guys you say, not overdraft them. They're not saying get them in the first round. But when it comes to their spot, their rightful spot in the draft, don't overthink it. These guys still hit. We're watching the tape. We're looking at the numbers, and we're here to tell you that. All that and a little bit more right after the intro.
Welcome to the Devy Planet. The Devy Planet. The Devy Planet.
Devy Planet, I am SC Romero with my co-host Spencer at Buckwald Sports. Spencer, how are you doing today?
Doing good, man. We're getting real close to the end of college football season here. I feel like it's creeping up on us out of kind of nowhere. So yeah, that's how you doing, man.
Doing good, doing good. I mean, this is what, as we wait for the season begins, during off season, that's what we're waiting for, and now we're waiting for the season to end because at this point we kind of understand where some players are and whatnot. Of course, some may declare, some may stay. All that can still change, but it's kind of like, all right, we need to start looking at next season already, right? Like, let's get these guys in their bowl games, figure out who's declaring, and then we can move forward. But before we do that, we do have to get through the 2026 class. And today's episode, shout out our guys at the Devy Dojos. We got our guy there, the Shinobi, excuse me. Then shout out our guy, the Sensei's in there as well. Season came and went so fast. Agreed. Shout out to Devy Dojo. If you're not following them, great guys there. They have fantastic shows over at the FSAN network. They also have a Substack, which if you're not part of that, make sure you join up because they have fantastic news and knowledge there. We talk to them, they talk to us. Great minds at the Devy Dojo with the Sensei, Sifu, and the Shinobi there as well. But what we're doing here today is these are guys that are 2026 eligible. Some of them could still possibly stay. Some of them, they're out. They got to leave. But what we want to do here is, again, talk to y'all about not overthinking it. A lot of times we look at the numbers, we look at the the stat sheet, the box scores, and it doesn't look so pretty all the time. And sometimes we start to second guess those draft picks, right? When it comes to the rookie drafts, you're looking at it, you're like, man, they didn't really do that good this past year. Maybe they had a down year because they were banged up or, injury lingering, all that kind of stuff. Or maybe someone else came and stepped away, but they have some past experiences that we saw that we liked. And the bulk of the show is to tell y'all, hey, these are guys that we kind of trusted throughout their career, or we saw it now and it really paid off. And don't overthink it when it comes to the draft. That's the core of this show today. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a couple quarterbacks, some running backs, and some receivers that we'll talk to y'all about. And again, purpose of this is don't overthink it when it comes to draft time. But let's start with the first quarterback here, a guy that really rise on our board, right? We didn't talk to him about a lot about him during the offseason. We love some guys that were behind him, and he came in and he kind of shined out of nowhere. That's going to be Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson, right? He came in, he did phenomenal things. He really took it by storm. I mean, look at his 20 touchdowns, 1 interception right now, and he's really leading the way to some, possibly the first QB off the board in this NFL draft. But Spencer, this was one of your guys. Talk to us about Ty Simpson here.
Yeah, so Ty Simpson is a guy I already see the the overanalyzing starting to happen, in the Twitter sphere, so to speak. But so far, this is this year and his career, because I think he had one game played where he came in relief before this. 67.8% completion, as you said, but he's been, over 2,184 yards, 20 touchdowns, only an interception, 8.68 but we're talking, kind of behind the scenes. I mean, this is his first year. He's 8-1. He had that rough first game. I think we saw a lot of these quarterbacks this year starting for the first time, having a tough first game. I don't know. I think it was just that week 0, week 1 issue. Sure. But he settled in and been really awesome. What are we going to be overthinking? Ty Simpson doesn't have enough starts. You're going to see that. You're going to hear that over and over again. The game started at the college level to NFL has been, highly correlative over the last few years. But I think that's weighed down by a couple of prospects in Trey Lance, who admittedly I loved Trey Lance, but Trey Lance had, only that 1 year as a starter and busted out. And Anthony Richardson, same thing. But those guys had bigger flaws than what Ty Simpson has. When you look at Ty Simpson, you just got to see what everybody kind of sees right now. He's mobile in the backfield. He's not going to rush for 500 yards, but he can escape escape pressure, move around and extend plays. He's accurate. He's a former 5-star, one of the highest recruits in Alabama history, actually, by the weighted 5-star rating there over at 247. I mean, this is he's a legit talent. He's playing his mind out. He's layering the ball really well. Just don't overthink a quarterback who's playing really well, who's been in a system for a long time. We're going to be overthinking this one because he doesn't have enough starts. I think that this is a guy we need to just trust that he has done enough behind the scenes at a great school like Alabama.
Right.
And that's why he's doing well this year. What are your thoughts
For
here?
sure.
You think this is a guy we're going to overthink, or you think maybe that's a reasonable critique here for Ty Simpson?
No, I 100% agree. I'm gonna pull the Sensei's there because he said you would never think he's a first-year starter. When you look at these quarterbacks, as we've talked about this many times, the quarterback class at first, it is a deep class, but a lot of the guys that we thought were going to be top notch, first round, our rookie drafts, 1, 2, 3 kind of deal, we might not even be drafting them at this point. But when it comes to Ty Simpson, you're looking at the top 3 right now, right? It's going to be Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore. Look at those other two. Fernando Mendoza's had his upside, right? He played at Cal, also played at Indiana. Dante Moore wasn't so great at UCLA, but we were waiting for it. He was a big prospect coming out. A lot of people had him QB1 of the class when he was a freshman. Ty Simpson kind of just fell behind the radars, right? But behind Milroe, he was just kind of sitting there. But what he's shown this year is he's soaked up so much knowledge about it, and the numbers are there to prove it. Like, this is something that really stepped in from a down year of Baylor. Ryan Williams had a big week or a big game, last year as well. He put him on the map. Jerry Bernard came out and did good. They don't have a solid running game, but they still been winning games. And you brought up the game against Florida State. That was the moment where it's like Ty Simpson's not it, right? They just lost State. Alabama's lost. They're not going to do anything. Ty Simpson came out and said, all right, hold my beer, right? And I'm going to go out here and do what I do best, and that's just control the field and play my game. And he really has elevated the Alabama offense. Jerry Bernard looks like a potential first-round NFL wide receiver. We already knew what Ryan Williams was, but it wasn't that he really missed a beat with Ty Simpson at quarterback. Like, he's hitting them with accuracy. He's 67.8 accuracy for his career so far. He's going out there and understanding the game and really transitioning what we thought Alabama might be with DeBoer and say, no, Alabama's still a threat in the SEC, in the nation. They are still a team to beat, and Ty Simpson is the next factor of that. Now, when it comes to it, sure, you may overthink it, right? Because, again, the starts aren't there, like you said. He's not – it's kind of still a lot to unmask, right, that we have to see from him. But you put him in the right system, he could floor us. I personally don't necessarily want to see him go to the Cleveland Browns or the New York Jets. Like, I don't know if that's something that's going to really do much for him right now. I think that's the death trap for quarterbacks. Even if it's Dante Moore, Fernando Mendoza, I don't want to see them go there. Ty Simpson goes to the Saints. Maybe I'm a little more intrigued at this point. I do think it's going to be landing spot on him. But either way, he's proved he can go out there and just dominate from just being on the field. Just put him on the field and he's going to go out there and dominate. Don't overthink Ty Simpson when it comes to the rookie drafts. The draft capital is going to be there. The statistics are there. The game on tape is there. He is a great quarterback there as well. So I absolutely love that pick. I think he's going to do wonders for teams moving forward. It's so far, 8-1 record for his career, right? Just being the starter. So awesome guy there. Good pick out. Now, the quarterback I want to talk about, this is a quarterback I put on here because I think I've been overthinking it, and that's going to be quarterback out of Miami, Carson Beck. Now, for the career, 72.7% completion, 2,194 yards, 243.7 yards per game for his career, 15 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. That's going to be for this season, I believe. That's nowhere near for it, so I apologize for that. But he's been doing great too. 53 big-time throws throughout his season, 2.4 time to throw, so he's getting the ball quickly. He's very accurate with it. And honestly, I was thinking about a comp, and I really want to say he's kind of like this year's Dylan Gabriel. It's not necessarily the sexiest thing, but you can't deny what he's been doing accurately for his accuracy, right? He's been doing some great things. And again, the basics on there is what he did this season, but he's been doing some great things for it. And I feel there's opportunity for growth. I know there's some things he may do off the field that may get some people off. I think the combine interviews are going to be really big for him. I don't think necessarily what he does at the combine, like performing, is not going to really change how he is. He's a good quarterback, but what he's going to do in the interviews is really going to be the telltale signs of what team wants to take a shot on him. He's a quarterback, though, that we have seen him lead. We have seen him win. This isn't the year for Miami compared to what it was last year with Cam Ward. And I feel a lot of people compare that. Well, Cam Ward did this, Beck should do it. It's a whole different ballgame. Every season's a whole different thing. Doesn't matter who it is, where you're at. It's all different season, different game. Carson Beck, though, is a solid quarterback. And put him in the right system, put him on the right team. I think he's going to be good. And I think he's going to be someone we might end up be taking mid to late second round come drafts, because I think the capital will still be there regardless of the record. Because as a whole, he has been a solid quarterback. What are your thoughts on Carson Beck here?
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, maybe I'm overthinking it, and that's something to say. But I've been kind of long out on Beck, so he hasn't done anything to pull me back in. But maybe I've been overthinking sort of like the points that you make about him just being a reliable guy. I think that's very true. I mean, he had that one blow up game this year, but outside of that, he's been, he's accurate. He gets the ball in his playmakers' hands. He's willing to spread it around, which is always something that's good to see from a college quarterback. A guy who hones in sometimes can get caught honing in, and when he gets to the NFL level, Carson Beck really hasn't done that.
Fair.
I think he'd fit really well in a variety of NFL systems, though, like that Kyle Shanahan style offense,
Right.
where you need a West Coast distributor. Like that's I think what Carson Beck can absolutely do at the next level. And to your point, he's someone that I think has a little more safety and fluidity in terms of system fit than a guy like maybe even like a Mendoza or a guy like a Dante Moore. Like they might need a little more structure around them
Right.
to succeed, where Beck maybe can fit in a few different structures.
Right.
And if he knocks out those interviews, and he kind of puts the knucklehead concerns, so to speak, all behind him, it's a guy that maybe he can make it work. I'm just not sold. It sort of, to me, is it's tough. I don't see the mobility, I don't see the physicality, and I do think that he's an absolute knucklehead off the field. Every time he opens his mouth, I feel like he makes it worse for himself.
Fair.
But who knows? I mean, this is maybe something I got to go back, rewatch, see if I'm overthinking it. And he's an accurate, safe quarterback, and maybe that's what he is.
Our guy Mike says Carson Wentz carbon copy. Hey, Carson Wentz has some good games too, so that's why we, got to talk about Beck as well.
Yeah. Are we talking about early Carson Wentz, or are we talking about now Carson Wentz?
He still has some good games for you, the fantasy well, and I think the veteranship, right? When he's come out, he's 30-5 as his career, 30 wins, 5 losses for his career so far. He's a winner. He goes out there and shows it, and he hasn't really had crazy amount of weapons for him. He's had, obviously, it was at Georgia, not Miami, but he's still been able to put something together to lead his teams to victories as well. And that's what you love to see. And that's where I think some teams may say, we have some faith in you. Again, that first impression when you talk to these coaches, though, could completely transition everything. But I think the knowledge is going to be there for Beck on what he's doing and how he's really going to perform at that next level. So it'll be a telltale sign. But, I mean, he could end up the sleeper and one of the better quarterbacks of this class when it's all said and done. We'll see. Yeah. But let's go ahead and move on to our running backs. Our first running back is going to be Mr. Home Run Hitter so far this year, out of Michigan, the Wolverine himself, Justice Haynes. Why are we overthinking him, or why should we not, Spencer?
Yeah, so this is this was my pick, and this is a total me trying to redeem myself here after a bad Devy. I called him my faceplant to start the year. And but I mean, I think that you can easily overthink Justice Haynes for the same reasons I overthought Justice Haynes earlier this year. Mm-hmm. So this is, that's really where it comes from. Is you're going to look back, and what you're going to see is Justice Haynes really only has this good year. Before that, he'd struggled to kind of get right. He couldn't break through at Alabama behind subpar talent. He had to transfer out and go to Michigan, and they played a soft schedule this year. Yeah. So how can we trust that guy? I'm telling you, you turn on the tape and you can see exactly why you trust this guy. He's got a kind of a next level acceleration. I don't know that I would say he's probably not going to be like a 4.3 guy. I think he's pretty solidly a 4.4 guy, but he gets right up to speed immediately. He puts his foot in the hole, and he's so powerful that he jets right through. And that's the kind of player that you look at what Justice Haynes does and the vision that he's added to his game this year. He's added a little bit more polish to that running game. I think he's the best Michigan running back we've seen in quite some time.
Fair, fair.
But I think it's going to be real easy to overthink. You know, look, Justice Haynes, he only has that one good year, and even this year he's got hurt. How can we trust this guy? How can we say that he's going to be an actual, how can I draft him at the end of my first round and feel confident he's going to be a running back for me? I guarantee you, Justice Haynes is somebody you don't want to overthink. He's going to be a great player at the next level.
Facts. Shout out our guy Jamie, always jumping in, man. He has his own podcast. He don't forget, as he's doing it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. We love it. We're here every week for y'all doing different Devy shows for y'all. And our guy, the Sensei, saying Sev calls him Home Run Haynes. There you go. And I think to Sev's point, that's exactly what he is. And at this next level, I don't know if Justin Haynes will be a 3-down back at the next level, but I think he's gonna be someone that he doesn't need the bulk of the carries anyways. He's going to go out there and make some big plays every time he touches the ball. 6.5 yards per carry right now, 801 yards after contact from his 1465, 44 missed tackles so far, 19 touchdowns and only 1 fumble. That's really a big part in it, is the fumbling. We have a lot of guys that we talk about that they have had some fumbling issues, and Haynes isn't really one of them. He knows how to take control of the ball. He knows how to hit the gaps very quickly, has solid vision, and I think what was lacking at Alabama, whether it was because of Jam Miller or coaching, maybe it was Richard Haynes, whoever was there as well, not Richard Haynes, Richard Young, holding him back, he really found his spot at Michigan. And what we're seeing this year is the Justin Haynes we were waiting for. If you go back and watch his high school tape, everything he's doing at Michigan right now is exactly what we saw in high school, and that's why he was such a highly recruited running back at that time as well, because of that juice, because of that explosive power. He's one of the top rushers in the league this year. And it's because he gets that gap. He goes between the tackles and hits it. He's gone. If you don't get him within the first 10 yards, guess what? He's gone. And he has open field awareness to make defenders miss. He has some good contact balance as well. And he's just a big play type of guy. About 74 first downs in his career. He's going to move the chains. He's going to make sure that the ball stays on the offensive side of the field until he gets to the end zone. And it's just an all-around guy you can love. I know when it comes to running backs, it's always iffy. I don't feel any running back, doesn't matter if it's the RB1 to RB10, nothing is quite a sure thing. There are a few where we could say are a sure thing, but nothing is quite that for the running back position. But I feel Justin Haynes is definitely closer to a sure thing than not, where he's going to go and where the league is at right now. Now, he's not necessarily going to be a first-round pick in the NFL, maybe a day 2, but I would say closer to like a third-round pick, rather than a early second round or mid second round. But still, something still I would invest in, because I feel there's some juice there and something some teams will like. He's going to be one of those players that he's not going to shine at the beginning of the season. He's not going to go out there and start day 1, but he might be that kind of league winner where he takes the reins in the second half and just runs with it, right? No pun intended there. Sensei says, do you think he stays in school? No, because of the year he's having. That's where it comes in. I think Jordan Marshall's coming on right now as a late as well. So Jordan Marshall will, right? But I don't think Marshall's eligible anyways. But Haynes, if he wasn't having this type of year, yes, because of the years he had at Alabama where it was very minimal. But because he's going out there and dominate, and with the running back position being so versatile or so wishy-washy at times, like with the NFL looking at running backs, I think when you have these type of years, you have to go out and go ahead and do it.
I think as long as he's healthy for the pre-draft process, the only thing that I can say is, like, if for whatever reason, like, he's not healed up by the pre-draft process and like prognosis isn't looking like he can go through drills, go through combine, then he might stay, just because that will hurt his stock in a way that he can't control. But outside of that, again, if he's healthy, kind of can end the season on a good note, then I don't see why he wouldn't come out, because he can capitalize. I think NFL teams are going to want him to come out because running back this year, I mean, it dries up real quick. A lot of the big names, similar to the quarterbacks, have sort of fallen by the wayside, and Justice Haynes is one of the big names that absolutely lived up to expectations. So I think that's why he comes out.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Michigan's in the Big Ten, correct? That's That's
Yeah.
just sarcasm there for it. But I agree. What do you say? I agree. I think injury has made it in call up. Ultimately, yeah, I think he declares. Yeah, I'm saying. I mean, obviously, the injury does play, but it's he doesn't need these last few games to show his worth. Like he showed his worth already to teams to say, hey, there's some draft stock available. And I said the joke on Michigan's in the Big Ten. Yes, they are. But because of that, Justin St. sees what another Big Ten running back has done, kind of dropped their draft stock to some, and that's who we're going to talk about next. And Nicholas Singleton here, Penn State running back. Now, what a horrible year for Nicholas Singleton. Like if he came out last year, he's probably a day 2 pick. Now he can be if a team takes a shot on him, but he's probably a day 3 pick. But again, don't overthink it. We don't look at this tape at this last year and say Nick Singleton is a wash. He's nothing special. Go look at his freshman tape. Then go look at the sophomore. Then look at the junior, and then you can watch this. But when you're drafting as a whole, what we do at the Devy Planet, we're not just looking at the film for this year. These guys that we talk about that are eligible, we've been talking about them for 3 years now. We've been looking at their tape for 3-4 years, however, if they're a senior or junior. This is a guy where he has the tangibles to be a good running back. 5.5 yards per carry for his career at Penn State. Penn State's a monster when it comes to the running game. 3,276 yards, 2,047 after contact, 100 missed tackles forced, 41 touchdowns, 6 fumbles in 4 seasons. That's not bad. I'm not mad at that, right? And then behind the scenes there, when it comes to 165 first downs, he's someone that's going to pump it and move the chain there for you, right? Of his yards, 62.5% are coming after contact. So it's not just 50 or 40%, 62% coming after contact. He is making defenders miss. He is avoiding these guys and making things happen. This is a bad year, but guess what? Appreciate you coming in, Sensei. This is a big time for Penn State. Drew Aller, Katron has risen a little bit because now people are saying, Katron Allen is the RB1 at Penn State, and he's better than Nick Singleton always has been. They've been RB1A, 1B, and they could both flourish in their own ways. But because of the season that Nicholas Singleton is having, I'm feeling he's slipping on people's draft boards. And I'm here to say, when that time comes, the second round, I'm not taking him in the first as I was earlier, but that second round, when he's on the board, don't overthink it. He's proven he can be a top back. It's just an unfortunate year for Penn State as a whole. And it's not just him. Again, it's Penn State as a whole. They don't look like the Penn State team that was making a playoff run last year. I think he's going to be someone that you want to talk about, someone you need to be looking at moving forward. What are your thoughts on Singleton?
Yeah, I promise I'll be agreeing with you later on. This just isn't one that, this is one that I think I almost feel like I've been overthinking him in the other direction, right? Like I've been like, he's such a supreme athlete that no matter what, he's going to get a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm almost wondering if the fact that he's so technically unsound, like he doesn't have good patience behind the line. He doesn't have sort of like that field awareness you want to see. He relies so much on being an athlete that I almost think I've been overthinking the fact that at the end of the day, is he just not actually a very good running back? Is he just relying on the fact that he's bigger, faster, and stronger than everybody at the college level? And when you get to the NFL, those linebackers aren't as slow as they were when you're playing up against, Wisconsin.
Fair.
Those safeties hit a lot harder than the 180-pound safeties from Kent State when you go up against them.
Fair.
Like you're getting whacked by some big boys up there. The D line, they got some 350 pounders that move at 4.5 speed at the NFL level. You're not running into a 220-pound defensive lineman who's trying to make his way through the Navy Academy. Like this is a guy that I am genuinely worried about, and I think all of the flaws kind of came to a halt this year. I almost think he's been getting lucky for a few years because Penn State's been so good. It's helped hide those flaws. So I'm not with you here, but I also see what you're saying, and I'm very open to being wrong here because he is a supreme athlete, and he has worked on his craft, and he had gotten better every year up until this year where it all kind of came to a halt. Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to pour some cold water on it, but I also understand what you're saying. Maybe I'm overthinking it and saying, maybe I just need to go back to the basics. This guy is a supreme athlete.
Right.
So maybe he can make that work. I'm just not quite there with you.
Okay. And he's gonna be someone too that could possibly rise in the combine here.
Hmm.
He's had production, it has this constant non-production for him. This year is gonna be a big part though, and I feel a lot of people will look at this year and not even have him on their board. But what we'll do here is we've seen him in years past.
Hmm.
Before this, I feel we had him as a first round pick in this class, as far as like the 2026 rookies drafts for our
Right. Yeah.
dynasty teams, where he has drastically dropped. And it's kind of crazy that one season we're like, all right, he's out of it, but at the same time, that means he could potentially be a steal at that, second round. Because even then, he's probably going to be going mid to late, closer to late second in our drafts, right? Rather than the early second or late first. So, I mean, there is going to be some opportunity for him to shine at that next level, I feel like, for him as well. Now, with our receivers, we're going to talk about a few receivers here moving on forward. But one guy you've been beating the drum on, he's battled some injuries throughout his season, but phenomenal wide receiver. That's going to be Clemson's wide receiver, Antonio Williams. It's a guy that's really kind of a gadget type of wide receiver, but really explosive as well. Talk to us about him.
Yeah. Antonio Williams is, he's had a great career up to this point. 76.1% reception rate, 2,156 yards, 1,035 of those coming after the catch. He's at an 11.3 yards per reception on the career, 19 total touchdowns. His on a whole, he's been mostly in the slot. It's 76.8% of his time there. But he's been pretty reliable. He's got a 47.8% contested catch rate at a guy at, probably 5'11", 5'10", 190. That's really good. What I think we're going to overthink about him is two things. He's injury prone. You're going to hear that. And he's never really had an elite year. He's never had that elite season. But I think that's overthinking it with Antonio Williams, because what do we have? We have a guy who he runs really good routes. He is able to play physical at the catch point. He's twitchy. He's fast. He's a quarterback's kind of best friend.
Right.
And he reminds me a lot of Zay Flowers, Lad McConkey, that type of mold of player.
Okay.
And I think he's going to be a better NFL wide receiver than he was a college wide receiver. And I think the stats can fool us. We've seen that he's playing with some elite talent at Clemson almost all times. And the quarterback situation that he had with Cade Klubnik, he's kind of had an up and down type of relationship, I'll say, with Cade Klubnik. It's really good, it's really bad. I mean, that's sort of how Cade Klubnik rolls. But I think overthinking Antonio Williams, you'll fall into that trap of he's injury prone and he's never had that elite production, so he's not going to have that at the next level.
Right.
I just think that Antonio Williams is going to be highly drafted. The NFL is going to covet this guy. I think he's going to show out at the Senior Bowl. So I don't think you want to overthink this guy. Where are you on Antonio Williams, though? I know I'm the high man and have been the whole time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do think NFL team's going to take a shot on him because I do think he's a nice gadget player. You said Zay Flowers and Lad McConkey. I was thinking about, I think he's a better version of Tank Dell. Like, I think that's what we want. What Antonio Williams is going to be is what we want Tank Dell to be. Just this guy that can fit in the slot, has great routes, has speed, has some explosive juice to him, but he's bigger than what Tank Dell is, right? And he has a little bit more fluidity in what he can do around the field, whether you move him to the slot or even put him outside. He can do it all there forward as well. I do think that the injuries is a concern for me, right? But when it comes to his time, I don't think I'm going to overthink it because he's probably going to be the best guy on the board whenever it comes to that second round for us, right? So I think the team's going to take a shot on him. I think this is a gadget wide receiver that a lot of teams would love. Maybe they have him start off on special teams, but he's going to make a name for himself. And I think we're going to be talking about him for a while at that next level because of his ability to really line up wherever and just be dominant with his routes, right? He is, like you mentioned, the twitch is there. The yards after contact is there, 48% coming after contact, right? So he's not an 8.3 ADOT, average depth of target there. Want to see a little bit more for him, but I think that's just due on what Clemson's doing. Like, they don't push it down the field as much. They had West go for that, TJ Moore. So when they were targeting Williams, they didn't necessarily need to do that as more. And I think he can be better than that. I think he could get over that 10 ADOT as well, maybe around 12 or 13 ADOT at that next level because of his fast, because of his speed. And you mentioned the quarterback's best friend, his reliability. His relationship with Kate Klubnik has kind of been like that toxic relationship. Like you're in 1 year, that's like, nah, I'm done with you. But then you go back 1 year, it's kind of been like that for him. But I do like him as a prospect. I do think an NFL team's gonna take a shot on him. I think this is a day 2 wide receiver through and through. And because of that, I mean, you got to really love it. I think a great team for him would be put him in New England, put him with Drake
Yeah.
May, right? He's out. His Diggs is still there. You have Kyle Williams. Now you have Antonio Williams. I think that's a feast for Drake May, right? Because you have people on the outside that can dominate, and now you have someone up the middle that can really make a difference there in Antonio Williams. So, I absolutely love him. I think that's a great pick there, and I think a lot of people will overthink him because of his fluctuation year over year as well. Next guy here that we're going to talk about is going to be a guy I've been really beating the drum on, and I don't know if he's a day 2 wide receiver. I would draft him day 2 if I'm a GM, but he's probably going to be a day 3. But I think this is going to be one of the earlier wide receivers in day 3, and that is BYU's Chase Roberts. This guy has been an absolutely stud when I watch his tape. He is so fluid in his routes, 61.7% reception rate, 2,421 yards, only 811 yards after contact, so that's not the best there. But 15.8 yards per reception, 17 touchdowns. He's really that field stretcher, and what people liked in Jaden Higgins, right? I feel Jaden Higgins raised his draft stock once he hit the combine and had that 4.3 number there. Chase Roberts, I don't know if he'll have a 4.3, but he is going to be someone that is better down the stretch. I feel like he has reliable hands. He has the mobility to really evade. He plays a lot of his snaps out wide. 13.7 ADOT, 2.3 yards per route run. Excuse me, and his drops are horrible, and that's where I think people overthink it. He has 17 drops on his career, but there's been some times where we're seeing it all come into motion, right? This year, he's going to be someone that's really going to step up, or he did step up for the team at BYU, and has been the best friend to Barry Beckmeyer, a true freshman that took over for Jake Retzlaff at BYU there. And I absolutely love this kid's game. And when you watch the tape, it's hard to see anything else that he does there. I think he's going to be great at that next level. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I'm surprised by how many drops he's had, because I think this is like that's his calling card is honestly he's got great hands and he's reliable. So if I had to guess, a lot of those are from early in his career. I think that the number one thing people are going to do when they're looking at him is there's 2 notes that they'll overthink with this guy. One, this guy's really old. Why did it take him so long? Chase Roberts was on a mission, literally, for BYU, which is, for those of you that don't know, the Latter-day Saints is the school that they're at. They have religious missions where people can choose to kind of go out for 2 years, spread the word. It's part of their faith. Whatever you think of it, that's what that's a big part of them and a big part of the good belief system there. Right. And Chase Roberts bought into that. He went on that mission. He spent 2 years of his time preaching, spreading the word, being expressing his faith, and came back and played football. Right. And so he's going to be older coming out. But I think it's easy to overthink that. Looking at we'll look at our analytics and it's going to tell us Chase Roberts had a late breakout age. Chase Roberts had, why it took him so long from his time enrolling to starting to produce. It's because he was literally out elsewhere, and then it takes them a little while to get going. I mean, they're not allowed on the mission. This is sort of just like a little side note here, but while on the mission, they're not allowed to technically do any football activities. They're not allowed to, like they can do some conditioning, but they're not really allowed to do like a full workout. It's full devotion to the mission, to the practice, to spreading the word, to helping others. Like it's a very strict program that makes it hard for him to start playing football.
Yeah.
So sure. He came on a little later because of that, and maybe had some yips when he started off. He's clearly overcome that. The other thing is they're going to say Chase Roberts isn't athletic. How can he play well? This guy is a smart route runner. He understands zone coverage. I think you're probably right. I think he's a day 3 guy, but I think he's going to play up because he's got those sticky hands. He's got that physicality at the catch point, and he's gotten better every single year. And BYU hasn't exactly provided the best quarterbacks for him to play with year over year. So it's good, man.
I'm not comping him to him, but did another BYU wide receiver go day 3?
He sure did.
That a lot of people love it. A lot of people have him as like the wide receiver 1 right now. if you know, you know, we'll say that. But um, just the draft capital does play a difference, but again, the fluidity in the routes, I absolutely love him. My comp to Chase Roberts has been Kevin Walter. Just he's a lot more fluid than Kevin Walter. Kevin Walter is really sharp in his routes, but just the reliability and what he can do with his hands, it be like the quarterback's best friend. I think that's something that's going to really benefit Chase Roberts at that next level and really put him in. Now, again, he does play more in the slot or out wide, excuse me, but I think he could be someone that could be moved around in the slot and be dominant as well. But for those that don't know, it's Puka Nakua, by the way, when we talk about the BYU wide receiver that went day 3. Chase Roberts, I'm not confident to Puka, but I'm just saying that day 3 BYU type of wide receiver, he fits the mold and what's something that's dominant. So absolutely love him. Now, our next guy here is one that really came out the woodworks this year. Is having a pretty good season, but for their career, smaller wide receiver, but still has some good size as well. And that's going to be Auburn's wide receiver Eric Singleton Jr. This is a guy that really, Auburn as a whole has really been up and down. We haven't seen much for it. Thanks to Jackson Arnold, right, and what they're doing. But what are your thoughts here on Eric Singleton?
Yeah, I think Eric Singleton, this is another guy I think is going to be really easy to overthink because he's undersized, but he's been very good on his career, just under 2,000 yards, 814 of those coming after the catch. It's but it's been it's a 2.15 yards per route run, so over that two kind of threshold that we've sort of set as really 2.05 is kind of an area where you see
Mhm.
some progress. Big little note on that or
Yeah,
behind the scenes, we're working on some advanced analytics for you guys, and we're gonna have I think some of the best kind of metrics in the game once we're said and done. But it's it's underway. But only 10 drops on his career.
sneak peek.
Sneak peek. But even and then 41% contested catch rate for a guy that's not really how he wins. But I think it's going to be easy to overthink because of how bad this year has been for Auburn, and
Mhm.
it doesn't show up in the stat sheet. But we've seen with Ashton Daniels coming in that Eric Singleton Jr. has that game. He gets open at a really high level. He is a weapon after the catch. I think it can be used in a lot of ways on end
Mhm.
arounds and that sort of nature. Like, and again, that
Mhm.
quick twitch, he gets open. I think
Right,
he's going to be another really good NFL wide receiver who has, especially when you get under the hood, that production is there. It's
right.
just that surface level production isn't quite there.
Mhm.
But this is a guy that you need to have on your radar. And if you can acquire, if you're in a Devy league right now and you could acquire him before he kind of blows up at the combine, I'd 100% want to do that because this guy's probably running a 4.3.
Right,
But even after that, I think people are going to be tepid. They're going to say he's just a speed guy. He's just a gadget guy. He doesn't really have that full capability. Eric
right.
Singleton has the capability to be an NFL wide receiver, to be successful on the outside and on the inside. We even though he's smaller, he's played outside most of his career.
Mhm.
This is a guy who can win in a lot of ways, and I think he's going to be very good. What are
Right.
your thoughts here on Eric Singleton?
Yeah, no, I do like him as a prospect. I think he saw that could definitely rise the combine, as you mentioned, possibly a 4.3 will definitely skyrocket his um, draft value there. But I also think he's got to go to the team that knows how to use his skill set. He's one of those wide receivers that has a fine skill set in the sense of, like you said, winning in different ways. But there are also coaches, or we've seen coaches where they don't move around players. Like, I'm not
Yeah,
confident to, but DeAndre Hopkins, for example, he's at Arizona. This was a guy that you move him around the field, he could dominate, but they chose not to. They kept him on the right side of the field majority of that time there, and he wasn't as dominant in certain games because of that. And it was like, move this guy around. He could do different things for you. Singleton could be in that same tier where it's like he could really win, as you mentioned. But if a team just says, "All right, you're just going to be our wide receiver too," and that's where we're having you, and not necessarily using his skill set of being a twitch runner that can run in the middle of the field, if they just try to have him for his speed, go getter type of guy, he might end up being like that Jalen Hyatt, but he's not that one trick pony of what Hyatt was, right? He has more to his game to do it. 12.6 yards per route run or per reception, 12 TDs on the year. One really going out there and showing he could win and move the chains for you as well. And I do think he can be a reliable for a team, kind of like almost like a Josh Downs. Like you don't, he's got those big weeks. He's gonna be very dominant, but at the same time, he could be irrelevant some weeks as well. But I do think he's gonna be someone that can find opportunity at the next level, and really, hit it home for a lot of teams there as well. So good pick there. Our next guy here is someone that is gaining a lot of buzz, so much buzz that he's gaining buzz. It's the back end of the first of our rookie rounds. This is going to be Louisville wide receiver Chris Bell. Now, this guy is a monster. He's like, 6'2", 220, 68.4% reception rate for his career, 2,041 yards, 834 coming after the catch there, 14.5 yards per reception, 12 touchdowns. Now, this is just a physical specimen when it comes to Chris Bell. He is an absolute monster. He is someone that he's not going to be winning up the middle or anything. He's going to be your X, right? He's going to be your guy that can be just a dog there. But he really is someone that is going to move the change for you, right? He plays with physicality. Where he wins is what he's doing when the ball's in the air and how he's tracking the ball down the field and then coming up and gaining as well. Again, that physicality, 55.6% contested catch rate. He's not, I don't say he's the most fluid route runner. I don't think he's one of the top of the class, but I do think teams will fall in love with him. The teams that need that physical alpha, they're going to fall in love with Chris Bell. He could do other things, but that's where he's really going to shine, just someone that could play outside, be a red zone type of threat, and just get physical with these defensive backs at the NFL and really beat them to the punch because of his ball tracking skills and because he does when the ball's in the air and bringing it down as well. What are your thoughts on Chris Bell?
Yeah, I love this pick here because Chris Bell is a guy. It's going to be real easy to look at his kind of career and say, like, he is that one trick pony. All he can do is go downfield. He's just a big play merchant. Doesn't have that refinement, But when you look at this guy, as you said, physical specimen. This isn't another Xavier Legette. He's, he understands kind of how to win, and he has for a long time. This is just his first time really having that role to himself.
Right.
He was very good for Louisville last year in a limited role behind Ja'Cory Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
He had about 700 yards. It was all almost big plays. Like he had like 39 receptions, I think, for 780 yards. Right. It was the quietest 700-yard season that you've ever seen.
Right.
And this year he really built on that. Like this isn't just a one-year wonder. This isn't an out of nowhere guy. This is a guy who took the next step and became that next level. He grew into that next level role. I think it's going to be really easy to kind of look at him and say, no, of course, like this, he's just another one of those types. He's just the next Deebo Samuel or the next AJ Brown. This isn't Treylon Burks. This isn't Xavier Legette. He's kind of his own thing. He's got more downfield presence to his game than either of those guys had in college. He can really win in a variety of ways, even if he, as you said, he's not the most nuanced route runner. He's not the most sort of refined player. He has a little bit more to his game to win, and I think that's something it's going to separate him from those guys. And he just keeps getting better and better each week. So I love this pick.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you're saying there. No comps could beat to XL, Xavier Legette, or Treylon Burks as well, but I think he has a more physical presence to his game. Like he wants it, right? Like he goes up there and gets the ball. Like this is mine. I'm bringing it down. Where the other guys, I don't feel like they necessarily play like that. I feel there's not as much aggression when you're going up after the catch and making those big plays. Where Chris Bell says, I want to make sure I put my team in good position and bring it down there as well. So we'll see what happens. I think this is a day 2 pick here though. But back into the first. That might be a little bullish for me, but I do think he's an early second. So he's fringe there, but I don't know if I'm taking it back in the first. But I can see the realm or the world where that's happening as well. Our next guy here, guy you've been beating the drum on. I don't like to talk much about him, but North Dakota State wide receiver Bryce Lance, an absolute phenom. I was a fan of his brother for my own personal reasons, just because I'm not a fan of North Dakota State as much. But Bryce Lance is a monster. Talk to us about him.
Yeah, Bryce Lance, again, physical specimen, another one of these guys, 6'3", 215. He's playing now. I think it's his 5th year in college. It's a guy, it's going to be easy to say, this is an FCS guy. Mm-hmm. He's not really worth our time. We've seen these guys, Christian Watson not really have much success at the next level. His brother didn't have much success. Let's just write this guy off too. He's probably not going to make it. It's too big a jump.
Right.
Bryce Lance is different. He wins in a lot of ways, and he's got a great feel for the game. There was a specific play I called out earlier in the year where it was a little over-the-throw catch. and it was just off on the sideline in the end zone, just off ever so slightly. He made that adjustment, kind of caught it, got his foot in bounds, and made sure to make that play kind of end in a win. And a lot of players, it would have been out of bounds. They wouldn't have had the concentration to keep their feet in bounds and catch the ball. And he made that adjustment all while on the sideline with a defender up on him. And that's the type of play that it's a Sunday play. This is a guy, he's going to be good. And he's easy to forget because North Dakota State is never on TV. They're not ever talked about in the national rankings because they're an FCS school. Like we're not paying attention to what's going on there. This is a really strong prospect. I would have loved to see him transfer out and kind of come to the FBS, maybe play at a big time program. But him and his brother both, the academics at North Dakota State University, it's something that they've talked about. They really wanted to be a part of. He made sure to get his degree. He's made sure to get his master's. Like he's very dedicated to being a well-rounded human, more than just a football player. Now you might say that's because he knows he's not going to make it, but but I don't think that's the case. I think that he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's doing everything right, and he's going to come out and he's going to ball at the NFL.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be real easy to overthink because of all those reasons.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up Christian Watson. The injuries have been hurting Christian Watson. Christian Watson is a field stretcher. He's someone that's just, I think he's really a one-trick pony. I think, people didn't want to say that because he had such a great year and stuff like that. He was someone, I never bought into his tape because I was like, all they're doing is Trey Lance sees him downfield. He's playing jackpot, throwing it. Christian Watson's a big wide receiver. He's able to come down with it against FCS competition. You could say the same about Bryce Lance, but Bryce Lance is just so much more fine-tuned in his routes. I mean, 2.89 yards per route run, right? 16 yards per reception. He is going, yes, he stretches the field, but he's able to make solid cuts. He's able to go out there and win. He doesn't need to separate from his guys. He can if he needs to, but he has such a nice wingspan that his separation is coming with his catch radius and doing all those kind of things, bringing the ball in and making sure, hey, he's catching the ball 2 feet out because that's his wingspan there for his arm, and he's bringing it in like that, right? He doesn't have to gain a yard or a foot of separation from a defender. He's doing it because he's long enough to be able to use that link to his advantage. He's showing that his concentration is solid, right? We've seen him catch in the back of the end zone and really know where the out of bounds is and keep his feet in bounds. Those are things you don't see from some wide receivers at FCS level, right? He's doing these things at a pro level. He's going out there and dominating. And you've gone me onto him where I'm like, man, I like coming into this 2026 draft, I'm like, Bryce Lance is gonna be there, and I'm gonna have to make a decision. Like, bury my soul in my pride, or go against it and just say, no, I can't do this. But then I'm gonna regret it because someone else is gonna take him after me, right? But Bryce Lance is someone you should not overthink because of the school. You don't need to be scouting the helmet, scout the player. Go look at Bryce Lance on tape. Don't think about what the college or university that he's at. Look at him on tape and look what he's doing, and you're going to fall in love with it exactly. The yak isn't there, right? 840 yards, 526 yards after the catch. That's only 28.5%. That's fine. I'm not worried about that. Again, it's because he's not getting the separation of what some people like, but he's bringing the ball down, and he's bringing it down effectively to move the chains for his team, but also put points on the board. And that's really what it all comes down to. I don't care if you're gaining 5 yards of separation every catch and you're not doing anything, just bring the ball down, right? So, and that's exactly what Bryce Lance does. So great call out there. Our last guy here that we're going to talk about is none other than tight end out of Baylor, Michael Trigg. Why people are going to overthink it is injury concerns. He's been, since his freshman year, coming into college, he's been an absolute dog. 59.8% reception rate, 1,329 yards, 506 coming after contact, 10.5 average depth of target, and 14 touchdowns. This is a guy that when he's healthy, he's going to be a threat. I know people have Kenan Sadiq as tight end one, and I love that. I'm an Oregon guy. I absolutely love that. But Trigg, a healthy Michael Trigg, is a better tight end than Kenan Sadiq. Kenan Sadiq is an absolute freak athlete. I get it. But Michael Trigg is something special. He's a good wide receiver. He has a lot of a lot of blocking ability as well. 44.6% of snaps are in the blocking scenarios. He knows how to do it. He's a more complete tight end, I feel like, than what Kenyon Sadiq is. Kenyon Sadiq could definitely dominate at that next level, but I feel we still need to see more from Sadiq. For Michael Trigg, what he's doing this year is the year that I've been saying this is what we've been wanting. This is every year we look at Trigg and he's transferred to different schools. Every year we look at it, we're like, man, he's out. He got out again. This is happening yet again. Same, same
Yeah.
story, or what's it say? Different story, same something. I'm missing that quote up there. But
Same story, different day.
there you go. There you go. But he's going out there and doing phenomenal things this year at Baylor. Their schedule or their record's not sexy. They're like 5-4, 5-3. I can't remember off the top. But their defense isn't winning the games. Their offense is doing what they can, and Michael Trigg is a big part of that. This is a guy I really think he played himself into maybe late first, but he's definitely going to be a day 2 pick, I believe. And I think this is a tight end that, again, healthy Michael Trigg will be one of the top tight ends that we're talking about for it. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, as promised, I'm right there with you for the rest of them. I think this is the one that's really easy to overthink. Like he's had the disciplinary issues, off-field stuff. He's overcome that. He looks. He's been with Baylor for 2 years now. There hasn't been a single kind of report out of Baylor that he's been causing problems.
Right.
It's the injuries, but he's been healthy this year. He got briefly banged up, but nothing crazy. Like he came back, he balled out. This is a guy who's a freak. I mean, I think he's going to be like that elite power slot tight end, like that Travis Kelce type of tight end at the next level, where that's the role he plays. Your Sam Laporta, your Travis Kelce, your Brock Bowers, like that elite athlete in the tight end position that's playing the power slot, getting peppered with targets and making stuff happen. He can do it after the catch. He has this crazy catch radius and concentration. There was last week he had a insane highlight. And his tape is littered with that, but it was, defender draped all over him downfield. And he reaches out with must be 10 feet of his arm because the ball's nowhere even close to him. One-handed catch, brings it in, concentration through it, and gets going. Does he have concentration drops? Absolutely. Does he have some of these other issues? Of course he does. Like all these players have some type of problem that they need to work on at the next level, or except for Jeremiah Smith, but like he's got nothing to work on. Everyone else does,
right?
But Trigg is going to be electric at the next level. He's probably going to be better for your fantasy teams than he is for your NFL teams. Like I truly believe that. That's which is sort of I think that's not usually what you hear with tight ends. Normally with tight ends, you're like he's going to be a great blocker, but I don't know that he necessarily is everything. I think that's Kenyon Sadiq. Kenyon Sadiq is going to be great for an NFL franchise, but your fantasy team, he might be there. He might have a game or two, but Trigg is a guy who is going to be the dude for you, and you're going to be real happy with him, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think he could definitely go out there and make some big plays for the next level. You mentioned that concentration. I mean, that's a big part, right? Knowing where that out of bounds is and bringing the ball in and still making the play there as well. So 10.5, 8 out, as I mentioned, average depth of target there. He's moving the chains. Every time he's getting it, he's getting a first down, right? So definitely someone to consider looking at, someone to move forward on, because he's going to be out there and doing some great things for a team. And for fantasy, that's what we want there. That's all we have for y'all today in our Don't Overthink It. Again, all these guys are 2026 eligible. Some of them could potentially come back for another year as well. But when it comes to our rookie drafts, it's very easy for us to overthink certain picks because we start looking at numbers and we're like, wait, I don't know if I necessarily want that. When it comes to these guys, Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson, Miami quarterback Carson Beck, Michigan running back Justice Haynes, Nicholas Singleton, Penn State running back, Clemson wide receiver Antonio Williams, BYU wide receiver Chase Roberts, Auburn wide receiver Eric Singleton Jr., Louisville wide receiver Chris Bell, North Dakota State wide receiver Bryce Lance, and Baylor tight end Michael Trigg. Don't overthink it when it comes to them and your draft opportunity. We're not saying take these guys in the first because a lot of them will be late second, third, maybe even fourth round picks. But when they're there on your board and you're staring them down and you're thinking about it, Trust that gut. Don't overthink it. Those are your guys you will draft. For everyone in the FFU and the Devy Planet, we appreciate y'all tuning in. For our guys, Mike and Rich at the Dynasty Dogs, for our guy Jeremy and the Justice Ranks, for Jesse, who's on our weekend shows, our roundtable and our start sits that happen every Sunday, an hour and a half before kickoff. We appreciate everyone that's joined in. For myself, SC Romero, and my co-host Spencer at Buckwild Sports, we are the Devy Planet, and we will see y'all next time. Thank you.
FFU. FFU.